Kahinda Otafire to give his remarks. Thank you. Thank you. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, Honorable Minister is the president of the Global Pan-Africanist Movement.
Sit down, ladies and gentlemen. Vice Chancellor, Dr. Kabumburi, my old friend, Kwame Ejaru. You know, his father, Ejaru was a very great friend of mine. And the late Dr. Sheji had styled Ekanya after him. You know, he used to wear a collarless shirt, and then he had a bald head like his son. When you see that drawing of Ekanya, it represented his father. But it doesn't matter. Anybody not hearing me? Who doesn't hear me? Put up your hand. Now, 53 years ago, when I walked through the gates of Makerere University, not as a guest speaker, but as a student, this hall, Nkrumah Hall, was called New Hall, and the warden was the late Professor Apollo Savambi. And when I got in as a first year, first thing I did was to join the GRC. I became a member of GRC in the first year. And among other things we did was to rename New Hall, Nkrumah Hall. You know, your neighbors in Northcote had claimed suzerainty. They used to call it Kabinda. And we say, why do you call it Kabinda? It's an extension of Northcote Hall. So we said, that can't go on. We are struggling for independence. We can't have colonialism on campus. The noise quarters didn't like it. And since I was from Rumumba, I suffered their annoyance because they would come with their speed drums, drumming, get to. Hey, by the way, Rumumba was the only hall on campus that time. These are the we used to call these other halls dormitories because we were 113, and I think the next biggest was Mitchell Hall, which was about which was about 450 or 500, because for us we were 913, and we say the 913 million. That time was still called Rumba Hall. When I left, I'm told it was called Beastland, I don't know what, Room Box, I don't know. Well, Room Box is not a bad idea because we are frequent visitors to Mary Stewart. And we also renamed Mary Stewart. We gave it a new name, but the name never caught on, you know. The ladies wanted to be stylish. They didn't like the name we gave them. So they remained Mary Stewart. But their phone name was Box. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't like lecturing. Because I truly believe I don't have answers to everything. So I cannot put down something and then say, this is dogma. Because existence and living is a permanent unity and divorce of contradictions. Every single minute that goes by changes not only the cosmos but also your being. So much so that I'm now one hour older than when I came. So I can't claim that I have answers, I know everything. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, I want to share my experience, the knowledge I've accumulated from since I became conscious to today, share with you, and then, like your theme says, what we learn from the life of Kwame Nkrumah. What did Osagyefo live for? What did he live for? Other than the independence of Ghana, the defeat of colonialism, and his vision of neo-colonialism, what did he live for? What is that iconic dream Nkrumah lived for? It was the unity of the African continent. And that dream of his, the unity of the African continent, has been my inspiration, it's been my dream, it's been my goal. That's why I've ended up being chairperson of the Global Pan-African Movement from 1994 up to date. I'm now trying to organize the 8th Pan-African Congress in Uganda so that I hand over. Because from 94 to date is how many years? 31 years. That's a long time. It's high time, I think about, because every time I wanted to hand over, they would say, go on. They would say, go on. But whether I want or don't, my biological past is going to catch up with me. Time will come when my greatest tool of combat, my mouth, will no longer be able to deliver my effective ammunition. So, as I bowed, I would like to leave this accumulated knowledge with you who are young. Walking back, I told you I came in here as a student. I thought I came to Makerere to study. I came as a student and left the university with a paper degree, but also a freedom fighting qualification. Because from our second year, we became part-time students and full-time guerrillas, studying aside and started fighting His Excellency Alhaji General Idi Amin, VC, DSO, MC, I don't know what, CBE. And that gives you the essence of why we lived Nkrumah's dream. The Balkanization of Africa is what gives rise and what gives rise to the likes of Idi Amin. That a country called Uganda at one time lived under a ruler, a gentleman called Idi Amin. And that Makerere gave him a doctorate degree, an honorary degree in appreciation of his killing us. I don't want to say shame on Makerere, because those who did it, unfortunately, are no longer here. I know all of them. And God save their souls if at all they have any. This man started butchering Ugandans from day one, from when he took over. And at a certain stage in his existence, at the height of his killing of his citizens, of killing of Ugandans, Makerere, the oldest university in East Africa, awarded him an honorary PhD for exemplary leadership. You can see how people lose track. Yeah? You can see how people lose track. You can see how people sit on their conscience. You can see how people become part-time thinkers. For you to award Amin a PhD for exemplary leadership, what did you expect history to say about you? What will history say? I did. You know, Julius Caesar went to Britain and said, Veni, Vidi, Vinci. Fortunately, I speak some bit of Latin, so it means I came, I saw, I conquered. So me, Veni, Vidi, and fought. I came, I saw, I decided to join those who are struggling to change the course of events in Uganda, and I fought Idi Amin. Together with my colleagues, the late Ochengo Doi, the late Denis Echo, Odoi Chwale, there was a young man, Mujizi Rwandume, Mbabazi, Amama Mbabazi. Mbabazi is still living, still around. Last time I saw him, he was a very, very old man. The man looked very old, and yet he's 2 years my senior. So I don't know whether I look like him. We are not young, I'm 74. I'm a young man of 74 years of age. Together with his father, Dr. Rakana Rugunda. Unfortunately, Olarotunu, they had, many of them had to run away to take off. Olarotunu, Rugunda, all these others, they went to exile. For us, we stayed. It's not because we couldn't go into exile. It's because our dictum was, I would rather die on my feet fighting than live on my knees begging. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've done our part. If you look back, I'm chairman of the Pan-African movement, but I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. Marcus Garvey, Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, quite a number of people who started the Pan-African movement. I am actually the 7th president. I am carrying the torch, I'm bearing the torch of Pan-Africanism. Why? Because Africa is the cradle of mankind. And yet we are the most disadvantaged ethnic group of all mankind. We were the ones who suffered slavery, colonialism, imperialism, now neo-colonialism. Just because all of us have refused to do one thing, refused or failed to do, or abdicated responsibility to unite the continent. Unity is strength. And that was Kwame Nkrumah's dream. When you think you are inheriting the legacy of Kwame Nkrumah, and you still think you are a Muganda, you are a Munyankore, you are an Acholi, you are living a lie. I am not a Ugandan. I am an African. My country is Africa, from the East African province of Africa and the district of Uganda. The sub-county of Ankole. Ankole may be the architect of my creation, but it's not the trustee of my soul and destiny. So young men, when I hear people jumping up and down, Nkobaza Mbogo, Acholi, I don't know what, Abanyankole, the Machiga Kweterana, I say, God, you God, God who created me, are you the one who made these ones? Why do they hate themselves? Nkobaza Mbogo, so what? Nkobaza Mbogo tezikutuka, tuzikutuka lunaku. You know those who don't speak Luganda, they say, ropes from a buffalo hide cannot break. But I'm telling them that we break them every day. Nkobaza Mbogo, these ones of the Wanyankore, these ones of the Acholis, the Kakwas and the Madi, all of your stripes will break. It's only when we unite as Ugandans and weave a stronger rope and tie it to the African rope that we shall be unbreakable. We can only liberate ourselves by uniting our people. I always ask these Africans, if they, you hear people saying, hey, me am a Munyarwanda, me am a Kenyan, me am a Tanzanian, oh, je suis Congolais, je suis Congolais. If the eastern border of Congo had been put in Mombasa, what would all of us be? No, if the eastern border of Congo had been put in Mombasa, there would be no Uganda, there would be no Kenya, would all be Congolese. If the northern border of Uganda had been put in Khartoum, wait a minute, there would be no South Sudan. There would be no Darfur. There would all be Ugandans. And you are proud that these borders which bound you patriotically were determined without the input of your forebearers. Which of these African chiefs was consulted about the border? Students of history. Don't you know these borders were drawn on a map where no African dignitary chief or peasant was seated, participated? Then you stand up. It was done in 1800. 2025, you still glorify these borders? Wait a minute, you people at Makerere, the highest institution of learning, students of history, philosophy, political science, you still glorify these colonial borders and use them to describe yourselves? Like when you go to Katuna, there is a man who has a banana plantation that traverses the border. He has a wife in Rwanda and another wife in Uganda. Now what are the children? The late Aggrey Awori was a minister in Uganda when his brother, Modi Awori, was vice president of Kenya. Aggrey Awori and Modi Awori, one was vice president of Kenya, the other one was a minister in Uganda. Now, were these ones Ugandans or Kenyans? And yet we are still stuck. We are still stuck to our backward, dangerous, tribal identities. What's the difference between this Muchiga and this Muteso? This Muchiga Kwame and this Kwame from Muteso. It's necessary they are both Kwame. When I look at them, I don't know who is Muteso and who is Muchiga. They all look the same. Bald head, what? Hungry because they live in a continent that encompasses countries that are poor. They are struggling in poverty. Democratically poor. Democratically disadvantaged. And fighting each other because of ethnicity, identity. As if that is not bad enough. One is a Catholic, the other one is a Protestant, the other one is a Muslim. Ladies and gentlemen, who has ever come from heaven to tell you whether they admit Muslims and refuse Catholics in heaven, or whether they admit Protestants and take born again, or whether they don't admit all of them? What if you get there and find that nobody's admitted? There is a friend of mine. You know, he said, "Oh, but you man, you have lived for long." He said, "No, I have not lived for long. I tried to go to heaven, and he said, we have enough devils. Not another one. You can go away." Then he said, I went to hell. When I tried to go to hell, they said, "No, person non grata, no visa." They refused me a visa in hell, and I'm not accepted in heaven, so I hung around here. You find war because of faith. Faith. Imagine faith, not reason. Faith. I believe that I go to heaven. What if your belief is wrong? What if you discover it's wrong? Okay, you go ahead, believe. Believe. Let this one believe, let this one believe, the other one believe. Allow everybody to believe what they believe. Oh, you know, Muslims, they sit on the floor when they are praying and knock down their heads. Is the head they are knocking down yours? Why are you complaining? Oh, that they don't sit on chairs because they don't want chairs. Have you heard they are complaining their buttocks are burning? That these Pentecostals pray while shouting. Have you heard God complaining they're making too much noise? So why do you make that division or belief an issue, a casus belli? Casus belli means cause of war. The fact that this man who is bald-headed and his friend who is bald-headed, one is a Mchiga, the other one is a this also becomes a casus belli, that they fight war because this one is a Mchiga, the other one is a... But they are all poor, they are all... None of them can go to the moon. Ugandans can't go to the moon, Kenyans can't go to the moon. Have you heard of a Zimbabwean going to the moon? Or a Congolese? We can't go to the moon because we are divided, and because we are divided, we are democratically poor. Congo is poor. Me, I was there. I was in the Congo for 3 years. If you've seen people who are rich, very rich out of this world, they are in the Congo. But if you want people who are poor, very poor, who live on caterpillars, they are in the Congo. One day I was in the Congo, we were having a meeting, and these fellows didn't know I could hear what they were saying. I was there with the late Mayomba and the late Wapakabro. So when Wapakabro and Mayomba wanted to come back to Kampala, they were flying. These fellows said, no. They shouldn't go, they should stay here and finish what we are discussing. Then I stood up and told them, let Wapa go, let Mayombo go, and finish everything you want to hear. And he said, Mama Nangai, Azari Congolais, Azari Ugande, auti wapoyo. They didn't know I could speak Lingala better than they do. Azari Congolais means is he Congolese? Azari, is he Ugandan? Where does he come from? Language is a means of communication. How can you speak Lingala, Kiswahili, and what, and you think I can't learn it? It took me 3 months to speak Lingala fluently. Just 3 months I was able to speak fluently in Lingala and learn French and also prosecute a war. And they were, Biso, Bana, Botobota Mina Congo, Tozaribana. Yeah. Nazari Mana African. I'm an African. And I want you young people to be Africans. When you identify, I'll go to my grave very comfortable. Then as I leave this world, I'll know I've left human beings behind. I have left human beings behind, not biological substances that can walk and eat. You have to be very cautious. You have to learn to be cautious. Like Kwame Osagyefo, Kwame Nkrumah. These are people who put their best at the service of the continent. No wonder he was overthrown by imperialism. The imperialists could not allow Kwame Nkrumah to live his dream, to achieve his wishes. They thought the independence of Ghana was, as president of Ghana, he had reached the ultimate. They didn't know that Kwame Nkrumah realized he was only a Gombora chief in Ghana. Yes, he was president of a sub-county called Ghana. He wanted a country called Africa. That's the greatest attribute of Kwame Nkrumah. His dream for the unity of Africa. And you know, when people are talking about Ghana, oh no, this man, he was a dictator, he was this. That's besides the point. What did he want for Africa, and what is his greatest attribute? The desire for Africa, the desire for the unity of Uganda, the unity of East Africa, and ultimately the unity of the African continent. I would rather be a mayor in Africa than a minister in Uganda. Because when you go to these words, when you travel the world, say, Minister of Internal Affairs, from where? Uganda. Is that in South Africa? You know, one day I went to buy aircrafts for the police. I was in Texas, in a place called Amarillo. The vice president of the corporation, Bell Corporation, held a dinner in my honor. Imagine this. And at the dinner, the man asked me, Mr. Minister, you speak good English. Where do you come from? You are my host, and you don't know where I come from. My host, and he didn't know where I came from. I said, oh, Mr. Vice President, I'm from Uganda. He said, Uganda? I said, yes. Is that after Oklahoma? Imagine. Now, the fact that he didn't know where I came from, I could forgive him. But the fact that he didn't know his geography, imagine you tell somebody you are from Nicaragua, and he tells you, Nicaragua, is that after Mukono? Because Oklahoma is the next state to Texas. The man did not know the next state to his own. When Texas and the next state is Oklahoma, he didn't know what lay beyond Oklahoma. You can imagine. Now, when these people are dealing with us, these fellows, they look at us as from two perspectives. One, the N word. Do you know what the N word is? You know the N word? Niggers. Two, as subjects for exploitation. And we allow ourselves to be exploited. The other day I was telling these people of the Law Council that have they ever heard of what we call the military industrial complex? Many of them didn't know what it meant. The fact that these developed countries manufacture arms, and when you have an industry for arms are commodities. And when you manufacture arms, those commodities have to be sold. When they are not sold, the factories will close down and you'll have unemployment. So, how do you consume arms? Yeah, start a war. Start a war. Start a war and then sell arms. Sell arms and they are consumed, and your industry is gone. And where do you sell those arms? Africa. Yeah, that's why there are wars. Look around. One day my little daughter, I think she was in P4, P5, asked me, Daddy, Is it true you people spent 5 years in the bushfighting? Oh, I said, General. I said, yes, yes. Yeah, we spent 5 years in the bush fighting, was struggling, working very hard. I said, were you mad? Said, fighting? Were you mad? I said, why? What is it you are fighting about that you couldn't sit down and discuss? Did you have to fight for 5 years before you realized that these are issues you could discuss? Said, no, there was no sugar. Said, what was Kachera doing? Said, oh, the factory had broken down. Couldn't you repair it? If you couldn't repair the factory, couldn't you import? Now I said, now this one has. Because the situation had become so bad that when we tell you that there was a time when there was no sugar, there was a time when there was no soap, there was a time when we had no toilet paper, not even newspapers to use. To you, there are references to the past with no relevance to the exigencies of today, of your challenges. But they are reality. I know they don't concern you because for you, you take sugar for granted. You take toilet paper for granted. You take soap for granted. There was a time in my lifetime when these essential commodities were non-existent in Uganda here. And if you don't unite, if you don't build a prosperous Uganda as one people, that situation could obtain again. It happened before, it can happen again. That's why I call upon you to first of all unite our country, to look at you as yourselves as Ugandans from the District of Uganda and strive to unite with East Africans and unite the African people. Because if you don't, that situation could obtain again. Who can tell me about the existence actually of the Sudanese refugees? There are over 1 million plus refugees from this country called Sudan. Another sizable number from Congo. Do they have time for sitting in lectures at universities? If it can happen to these neighbors of yours, can it happen to you? The only way to prevent such occurrences is to unite. To start thinking above your ethnic and religious identities. Our greatest problem is we are Madi, Rugwara, Bajoro, Bachiga, Alur, Basoga, and the Ilk. How many Basoga have gone to the moon and come back? How many Basoga can manufacture jet planes? How many Wanyankore can build a modern hospital? A modern referral hospital on their own as Wanyankore? How many Wanyankore are manufacturing cars? Oh, even safety pins. Safety pins. Yes, we are manufacturing safety pins, but we are using other people's raw material. I want a safety pin made by Wanyankore from start to finish. For us, we are Wanyankore, we are wonderful, we are great. Nonsense. A poor Munyankore and a poor Chori, a poor Langi, a poor Musoga, they are all poor. A rich Munyankore, a rich Muchiga, a rich Mamadi, a rich, they belong to the same clan. And you know my other name? I'm called Kahinda Otim Otafire. Otim means one of us who was born from afar. Yes, I'm Rangi. Because I relate to those of my class in Lango. When I hold a party, I call the Ogwars, the Otims, the Dramadris, the Karikwanis of Uganda. I don't call the Rwamjirimbi, who are my neighbors. Because the Otims and me are one clan. The Rwamjirimbis who smoke tobacco and drink sour milk from press are part of you. And you must learn the phenomenon that those of us who are in privilege use you. Use you to fight our unjust wars. Wake up. Stop being used to fight unjust wars. If we are going to fight a war, it has got to be just and legitimate. Don't fight a war because you and me are biologically Banyankore. Biologically Banyankore, when we are socially different tribes. Have you understood what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. My son and my mother are biologically Banyankore, same DNA, but they are different classes. My late mother used to touch cow dung, and my son could not milk. At the age of 11, he couldn't milk. My mother was worried about this cursed grandchild who cannot milk at the age of 11. But my son was equally worried about this old woman who catches cow poo-poo. The DNA is the same. The biological, the ideological identification is at variance. Now my son would want to use his grandmother to fight war on his behalf, when their social interests are at variance. Go on with your disunity. You will see how far you will go. There should be no Baganda, no Banyankore, no Bagisu, no Bachiga at Makerere. There should be Ugandans. There should be no Catholics, no Protestants, no Muslims, except for Friday, going to the mosque and wearing rosary. We should have one religion, the religion of the just and the good and the religion of the bad. Doesn't money disappear in mosques? Doesn't money disappear in mosques? Is that money stolen by Protestants? Doesn't money disappear in the Catholic Church? Is it taken by Muslims? No. The aggregate answer is there are good Muslims, bad Muslims, good Catholics, bad Catholics, good Protestants, bad Protestants, good born again. There are those who claim they are born again, but they've never been born again. So what I'm asking you to do is let's unite the good as opposed to the bad. A good Muganda is not a dead one, like some people said. No, a good Muganda is that who struggles, who strives for the welfare of their neighbors. A good Munyankore is a good Muganda, is a good Mutoro, is a good Iteso. They are all good. Those who steal your cows, are they Bachiga? The Karamojong come and steal from the Iteso, and yet they are the same group. The Karamojong call these ones Karachuna. They say these are Karachuna. They are the same group. They take their cows. And these ones starve. Hey, now what do we do with the Karamojong? But these are your blood. Meaning that there is no monopoly of righteousness or evil. If you want to be progressive and useful citizens of the country and Africa, you have to learn to discern the correct from the wrong. You have to be able to say this is correct, this is wrong. Nobody should lord it over you. No. We are all born equal. We assign responsibility to leaders. Those who assume leadership responsibilities should not load it upon us and use us as subhumans and people to trade on. We are equal. I am member of parliament because of the votes of the people of Rwanda. When they withdraw them, I become Otafiri. Yes, it's your vote that makes me roll. The other day I saw people in my group buying votes. I will also eat, so I don't hide. Buying votes. Your vote is your conscience. Your vote is your conscience. Your vote is not a commodity for sale. Why do you take your vote to the supermarket? Anybody who tells you they are paying you not to vote for them is insulting you, is looking at you as subhuman. When you sell your vote, you have no conscience. You are just a statistic, biological substance, just a statistic, something just moving around. Because your vote is your strength, it's your, you are giving me your vote, surrendering your rights to me, for me to protect you, not turn you into a subject for ridicule. Young people, for us, we've run our race. We've run our race. Do you think I can fight anymore than you of 74? I can only tell you what not to do, because I don't even know how the fighting these days is done. But I know what is wrong with fighting. Why should you get to a stage of fighting? Listen to Kwame Nkrumah. Listen to Kwame Nkrumah. Unite the continent. Unite the continent starting with your primary unit. Divisionism is an existential threat to Africa. It's an existential threat to Africa. We divide ourselves, buy arms, kill each other, and we pay. We are now paying for the arms Amin bought to fight us. Actually, not fight us, to kill us, because he was not fighting anybody. He was killing. And to glorify him with the people of Rukunjiri. Some people in Rukunjiri named him life president. You mean somebody steals your goats and you also, as he's walking out, you also, why did you leave the chicken? Somebody has stolen your cows, your goats, and as he's leaving, you say, hey, by the way, you forgot the chicken. Man has been killing people and you declare him life president. Are you okay? Life president, my food. Fortunately, I mean, he ended his life when he was no longer president. Even that life presidency he believed in was an illusion. It was an illusion which he lived and believed in. And he's not alone. He's not alone. The problem of Africa is leaders who live illusions of grandeur, of invincibility, omniscience, omnipotence. Wait a minute, Kahinda, the other day you were here with Mucus running around like at Makerere struggling with books. You know, today you are a member of parliament and you think you are almighty. Wait a minute. Where you were born, you think there are no other people who are born. When you picked courage, you think there are no other people who can pick courage. Young people, me, I'm telling you, I learned my lessons, and I don't want you to pay the price we have already paid for you. Don't buy what we have already paid for. That is liberty and peace. We have paid for your liberty, we paid for your peace. Don't pay the price we have already paid for you. Learn, live, rise, and sustain the gains of our struggle. Turn it into your struggle. Don't allow anybody to play about with your liberty, peace, and individual freedoms. And you can only ensure that when you unite Africa, like Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah said, lived, believed, and lived for. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to me.